Good morning, traders. Today is Monday, January 30th. My name is Charles. This is the Pirate Traders live stream, and we are filling a gap. Sorry, I'm running late. All right, so the first order of business this morning is to fill the gap back to yesterday's low at 40.62. It would appear that is what they are on a mission to do. So now we are looking for resistance at 40.62. If they get resistance there, it is a gap and go, which is bearish for continuation lower. If they're able to get back up into yesterday's range, then it is not. The A period low is considered weak because there was only one contract that traded, and it also stopped right next to this previous week reference we left behind on Friday. So we are looking for resistance here at yesterday's low. Okay, so there's the gap fill. Next question is, do we get a gap and go, or do we pull back up into yesterday's range? The Shaw says, good morning, FOMC and go. Wednesday. Yeah. FOMC and go. That's a great way to put it. As a matter of fact, now that you brought it up, let's just zoom out just a bit. So this is bearish so far. We've got a gap and go. They got a weak high. Weak high and weak low is sort of a sign of chop. So I don't think they're quite ready to break lower yet. But that is a little bit bearish to see. But yeah, zooming out a little bit here and thinking about the context of the FOMC on Wednesday, I could very easily see us spending a couple days bouncing around in here, wasting time waiting for that. But we'll take it one tick at a time. For now, what do we know? Well, we know we had momentum. We had higher highs and higher lows for 3 days in a row, right? And we know we got our first signal that the momentum was over when we did not spike yesterday. See, we spiked 3 days ago, 2 days ago, and yesterday. Of course, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And so now, today, we made a lower high, which is a second confirmation that the momentum to the upside is over. And we had a gap down, which is a potential sign of new momentum to the downside. So I would say sideways to lower is now a higher probability. And the confirmation of that will be if we can hold yesterday's low. Does the resistance hold? All right, back below the halfback, I now see this as a gap and go, which is bearish. I will change my mind if we're able to pull back above 40.67. Give the market a little bit of breathing room here to repair that weak reference, but if we get above 67, then I'll know I'm wrong. John says, plus big tech earnings this week. Yep, going to be interesting. Let's see what the market has for us. I saw a tweet this weekend that really kind of jumped out at me. You guys know I'm obsessed with technicals and that I don't care at all about fundamentals. But this tweet kind of shook me a little bit. They said every single signal that the market is going to go down is fundamental. And every single signal that the market is going to go up is technical. And I just found myself thinking, that's not a good place to be right before an FOMC. Lots of uncertainty out there. Got 173 people hanging out. If you have not yet, please smash that like button. Sure would mean a lot to me. Also, while you're at it, you might consider hitting that subscribe button and the notification bell. Tomorrow is the last of these live streams. So from here on, or starting tomorrow, from there on out, you'll have to get those notifications in order to know when I'm going to go live. Or follow me on Twitter. Jay, and join the brigade. Oh, yes, and that too. Also, just join the brigade, and then you can keep watching these live streams. There's that option. Parting is such sweet sorrow. You don't have to say goodbye. Okay, so once again, we're looking for them to repair the weakness. So we want them to get at least another tick higher. But we are looking for the market to slap the buyers back down here once again. If it's a gap and go, that's what they should do. There should be sellers waiting inside yesterday's range. Okay, so now we're looking at the volume here, and we're asking ourselves, is it going to start to taper off? Or are they building volume up here to try to take the market higher? Okay, so there's the smackdown back below yesterday's range, increasing the odds of a gap and go. Like I said, we got back up into yesterday's range, and what do we find waiting for us? Sellers. That's bearish. Kathy, why bearish? Very simple. The market was bullish. It gave us a signal at the end of the day on Friday. It was almost done being bullish. It gave us another signal this morning that it was looking to go lower, right? So opening below the previous day's range tells us the momentum up is over, okay? And then the gap and go, pushing up to yesterday's low and finding resistance, what we're literally doing at this exact moment, that's what tells us there's new momentum down. If I had to guess, the market probably wants to repair some of this weakness we left behind last week. But we got to first see what happens here at the low. So we're just monitoring this for resistance. So the simple question is, what is the market trying to do? Is it trying to go up? Well, no, because if it was trying to go up, it should have been able to stay in yesterday's range, right? There should have been buyers waiting there. So we would have popped up, brought in some buyers, and then continued higher. But instead, we popped up and then got smacked back down. So they were sellers, right? So then the next question, all right, if the market's not trying to go up, what is it trying to do? It's trying to go sideways. Well, it could be. If it wanted to go sideways, a great place to start would be some resistance down into support. Or is it trying to go lower? If it was trying to do that, a gap and go. Resistance down for continuation. So right now, at this moment, as long as yesterday's low holds, the highest probability is either sideways or lower today. And that will only change if we can bring in new buyers inside yesterday's range. Timing it might be tricky, but we know who's in charge. All right, and just like that, I'm forced to change my bias back to neutral. Why? They were able to bring in buyers inside of yesterday's range. They were able to get those ticks above the zero line. So is that bullish, Charles? Does that mean we're bullish? No, 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 no. Remember, the gap down tells us the highest probability is sideways or lower. So right now we are looking for resistance. The only thing that could get me bullish that this market could really make a move to the upside would be getting above 76, this little node right here, which was also the high from Thursday, and then finding new buyers up there. But otherwise, sideways still seems most likely. So I'm looking for resistance. Peter says, from my observations, I see that not even a single day your initial bias has been proven to be correct. Of course, I do not blame you, but it is so damn clear that your methodology is flawed. If it is not possible to trade the market and specialize ES by observation only in market profile, yeah, I mean, I guess you just don't understand how trading works, Peter. It's not about how often I'm right. That's not how you make money, right? I only have to be right 40% of the time. I can literally be wrong more than I'm right and make money. It's not about being right. It's about finding opportunities to take risks. And then when you take those risks, using a system that guarantees that you're going to be profitable in the end, right? So I can have an initial, opinion that the market is bearish. I can take a short. I can get stopped out and I lose 2% of my account. And then later on in the day, my bias changes and I see that we're pushing above the overnight high and we're finding support. And so I get bullish there. I take a trade. Well, now I make a 4% return on that trade. I've made 2% return on the day, right? I made back the 2% I lost and I've got 2% of profit. So being wrong first thing in the morning on my first call is totally fine. As long as I'm able to change my bias and to be able to recognize where I'm wrong, when I'm wrong, be able to get out of the trade I'm losing money and then get into a trade where I make money, that's all that matters. It's not about being right every time. If you're looking for a system where every time it always works 100% of the time, good luck, Peter. And this is definitely not the right place for you. This is a place for using the market-generated information as a guide. And there is no guarantees. But as I said, the good thing to know is you don't need to be right more than you're wrong. Not if you use risk management. Not if every time you're wrong, you lose half as much as you make when you're right. Peter, but there was absolutely no clue of the gap and go, and clearly bearish implications after the opening. You need to give it more time to breathe. Well, agree to disagree, Peter. Like, most of the money I make off of gap and goes, to be clear, I make because I get in the trade right away. I don't wait around. In my experience, waiting around for a gap and go is the absolute worst way to trade it. You generally only get sometimes even less than a minute to get into the trade. The good news is, again, I'll just keep repeating myself. If I get into a gap and go trade and I'm wrong, I only lose 2% of my account. Who gives a fuck? I'll make that back tenfold before the day is over. It doesn't matter to be wrong once. What does matter is to have a framework to look at the market. If your framework says the market pushes up to the previous day's low, finds resistance, that increases the odds it's going to go down, you should be bearish. That's what your system is telling you. Your system does not guarantee you it will work, but it gives you a little edge in that one moment to take that one trade. So today the gap and go trade didn't work, but 3 days ago it did, and I made a ton of money then. So who cares if I lost a little money this time? That's what trading is about. Too many of you think it's about knowing what the market's going to do all the time. It's not. It's about knowing a way you can have a tiny little edge and you can make money. All right, so resistance is holding. Ticks are getting smacked down, so we need to pull back down and test that support. First support is going to be the halfback at around 40.62. All right, well, no support at the halfback. David. Walk the plank, Peter. No, it's okay. He's allowed to ask. It's a fair question. I get it. When you don't understand how trading works, when you think it's about being right, and then you see somebody on YouTube be wrong again and again, you think it must be a lie that they make money. But what you're misunderstanding is the way they trade, that they use risk management, so they don't have to be right all the time. And so I get it. I get that instinct. If you're a member of the boot camp and you're listening right now, what are you thinking right now? What are you feeling? You were forced into a trade. You're stuck in it right now. And you have no clue whether this market is going to break up or down. How does that make you feel? Geo. Oh, no, Mark, they're not going to say it here. They're going to track it on their own paper. David V, correct. I mean, you could close it like a minute before the close, but just right up until the end of the day. Mark says, ticks, the ticks, the ticks. Yeah, I don't think you should be as excited as you think you should be. Right? The market is working awfully hard to get those ticks above the zero line. So I wouldn't get any kind of bullish unless we got through the resistance and then turned it into support. This is feeling an awful lot like a sideways day to me. Oh, you were expecting the slap. Well, there you go. So now what is the market telling me at this moment? Well, right now we're just testing the resistance, right? I don't know if it's going to hold. I don't know if it's going to break. I don't know if we're going to pop through or get pushed back down. But when one happens, it'll give me indications, right? If they're able to break through this resistance here, they're probably heading up to test that overnight high. If they get smacked down again, well, then you got good taper on the high. Sorry, let me just... So you got volume tapering off really good on the high and a weak low. Well, now all of a sudden, again, if the resistance holds here, it increases the odds we're testing the low. So I don't have to know right now what's going to happen. Depending on what happens, I get insights. Morty, was that a Mark Douglas thing? I didn't even know that. Okay, the high is now weak. Sorry, poor, increasing the odds of a push away and repair. Design now. Good to see you, brother. Morty, he says you have to do the full trade 20 times. Yeah. No, that's building a system. This is something different. But yes, I fully agree with that. You don't have a trade setup until you've taken that trade 20 times in a paper account, tracked the results, and then you know, right? So you don't have a trade to backfill single prints unless you've taken 20 trades to backfill single prints in your trading account, your paper account, and then you've tracked the results and you know you have a system. Lorenzo, could be a gap and go. Not anymore. If it was going to be a gap and go, we wouldn't have been able to stay in yesterday's range. All right, so now the initial balance has broken to the upside. That's a little bit bullish to see. We were also able to get the ticks above the zero line, and they are clearly trending, so that is a little bit bullish to see. So that's starting to give us an indication the market might want to go higher. What does it have to do next? It's got to push through this resistance and then come back down and turn it into support. So if we poke through here, go repair that weak reference we left behind from last week, come back down and turn it into support, then I'm bullish for continuation. Anything else? It's more like a chop zone. And caution is called for. Rob, do you look for price to go from value area high to value area low and vice versa? No, I do not. I do, of course, on rotation, but not right now. And if you're talking about the previous day's value, no, I do not either. I know there's a lot of people that have this trade idea that if you re-enter the previous day's value, you're going to go to the opposite end. Like, that's one of those things. It might work out, but that's not the reason why. Right? If we're able to get up here, it will be because we were able to turn this into support and then test the overnight high and then find support above the overnight high. Then this will become a target. But there's no probability just because you re-entered it here, at least that I've observed. It's really about, right now the buyers are in control. Can they give us the signals that they can stay in control? break the resistance, turn it into support, break the resistance, turn it into support. Then it'll just be a coincidence that we also went to the opposite end. Scuba. Yes. Private streams. No more explanations of what cessation is. Cannot wait. All right. Well, don't get mad at me if I have to change my banner again. But breaking through the resistance here, in my mind, increases the odds that we at least want to test that overnight high. No idea whether we'll be able to find buyers up there. But I think we're about to turn what was resistance into support here around 75. And then head up and test that overnight high. So I am bullish for that move. I will know I'm wrong if the B period passes back through 40.68. If they're going to get that momentum to get up there to that overnight high, they should be able to hold this as support. Ed says, feeling laggard, bought the dip. You mean intraday today? Well, you're all right. They got the momentum. Thomas. What are you doing at your girlfriend's sister's, bro? Maybe she needs those air tags. Cortman, can we look at the queue? Yes, we can. Okay, so the NQ, a little bit less, obviously the ES is kind of bullish now, but a little bit less bearish on the open. They opened inside the previous day's range. Here, let me just delete this. They opened inside the previous day's range. So that increases the odds that the market is just going to chop first thing in the morning. It is not bearish to see. So basically that's exactly what you're doing right now. You've got your major resistance here and here, okay? So about 12,135 and 12,165. Okay, and then another one up here around 12,195. So you got 35, 65, and 95. Those are your potential resistance above. And your support, now that you've gotten above it, should be this node right here around the 12,065s. So essentially it's just a chop zone between those two. You're just looking for the market to kind of grind up and down. Only when it can break, above this resistance or break below this support do you start to say to yourself, okay, it's heading to the overnight high or the overnight low, right? So anywhere in between there, you assume it's just going to go up and down. But if you can get above here and find support, you look to test the high. If you can get below there and find resistance, you look to test the low. And you just chop it up. All right, they don't have the ticks. Man, chop day. All right, well, I am still bullish to test that overnight high, but they're not ready for it yet. So I'm forced to go back to a neutral stance for the moment. But I do still think they're trying to head up there and repair that weak reference and test that high. But I cannot fight the market-generated information. We should have had the support to do it. And we don't. So more chop. Pavel, shouldn't the M low and F be fixed? Actually, that's a great point. Yeah, you're right. My bad. All right, so next potential support here is the halfback. 40.65. Can that hold? Scooball says it's going to clear stops from there to yesterday's low. Let's see. Let's see what happens. The unfortunate thing when you're in a chop zone like this is you just got to wait. There's your stops. Okay, so as always in a chop zone, we're looking for the halfback to find support in order to tell us the market is going to try to break the high. So the fact that we pulled back below it tells us we're not ready for that yet. So now the question is, does it become resistance? Does it start to build up momentum to test those lows? Couldn't take the market higher. Might have to take the market lower. So we're now looking for, do we turn this area around 66 into resistance? Infinity NQ is passing the 12,065 support. Yes, sir. That is bearish to see. So what you've got now is a B period that is completely engulfing the A period. So it's higher highs and higher lows than the A period. That is sort of a unreliable signal. It's not telling you one thing or another, but breaking back below the support is a little bit bearish. So that increases the odds you'll try to test the overnight low down here at 12,041, and then you just wait to see what happens there. Do you push below yesterday's low and find resistance for continuation lower, or do you just poke below and then pull right back up? So pulling back up would increase the odds of sideways chop, and finding resistance at yesterday's low would be bearish for continuation. So looking to test 42, 12,042. Can they hold it? Okay, NQ broke the overnight low. So now the question is, do you turn this area into resistance? I would say pretty much resistance anywhere under 1260 would be bearish. If they're able to pull back up into that overnight range, though, above 1260, then they're probably just going to chop. Do we get new sellers on the queue? Okay, so here's our chance to test that halfback for resistance. If the sellers are going to take control here, they should be able to hold this halfback. T says, how do you interpret the market when ES is more bullish than NQ or vice versa? I ignore the other. That's the trick. I don't have a simple answer for it. You know what I mean? Like sometimes the two are moving so in sync with each other that you can kind of count on one almost as like signals for the other. And then there are other times where they're just totally separate. And I mean, I've seen where days where the ES is going down while the Q is going up. Anything is possible. So I just only make decisions based on each thing. So this morning is a great example. I'm now bearish on the Q, but I'm still neutral on the ES. You know, the Q has given us signals it wants to go lower, but the ES hasn't. So I'm bearish on the Q if they can hold that resistance, but I'm still uncertain on the ES. I need to see the halfback hold as resistance. I need to see the support break. You know, then I start to know. So I try to just focus on each market as its own thing. Scooball says every potential area to place stops was looking like support, and they just took them out one by one. Yes, sir. That's what the chop is. That's what the chop always is. They get as many people long as they can on the way up, then they take them out. And they get as many people long as they can on the way down, and then they take them out. And you got to wait for it to break. It's less common to get chop when you have a gap, but it's not impossible. And that's just what we got. Okay, so now that the resistance is holding at the halfback, that is just slightly increasing the odds. The same way when it held earlier, it was increasing the odds we'd try to go higher. It's now increasing the odds we'll try to go lower. Is that enough for you to be willing to enter a trade? Well, that's up to you. But that's what the odds are saying. With that, I will bid you farewell. Wish you all the best. And I look forward to seeing you here tomorrow morning for the last ever free first hour live stream. As far as what to expect moving forward today, to me, and it's obviously too early to guess, I have no idea what a market's going to do when it's just bouncing around inside the initial balance. But this looks like it's set up for rotation to me. You know, we had momentum to the upside. That momentum is now over. So that increases the odds we're either going to go sideways or we're going to need to pull back with price. So to me, those two are still the greater probability today. And as I mentioned before, if we can get above this node, find support, I'll look to test the overnight high. If we can find new buyers up there, I'll change my mind. But for now, it seems like we're trying to go sideways or have a larger pullback. So that is my focus here today. I'm focused on resistance. With that, I shall bid you farewell. Members of the brigade, let's ride.